Yeah, I'm Heather, and I have a confession to make. I recently had some friends over for dinner, and I fed them something toxic that could cause neurodegenerative disease. I'm not proud of this, but I've done it so many times. But wait, before you get all judgy, I can almost guarantee that you've done this too. You might have even done it to your spouse or your child today. What I'm talking about is MSG, monosodium glutamate. You probably have heard of MSG, and you probably associate it with Chinese food, headaches, not feeling so hot after eating it. And this is all true, but I like to focus particularly on free glutamates, which are hidden sources of MSG, and they're in so many foods that we eat today and we don't even know that they're there. I'd like to talk a little bit about them, how they're bad for our health, how to look out for them in foods, like I said, and hopefully encourage you to make better choices when you're buying foods and feel better. I'm not a doctor, a scientist, or a nutritionist, but I have had a whole slew of health problems and issues over the years that I've tried to manage and figure out. And I've done a lot of research, and through trial and error, I've had to find what's good for my body, what's not good for my body, what makes me feel good. And this is just something I've learned along the way, and I'm pretty passionate about it. And I hope that by sharing it with you, you become passionate about it as well. What is free glutamate? Well, glutamate is an amino acid. Amino acids are essential. They're the building blocks of protein, and we use them to nourish us, to grow new tissue, to give us energy. And no amino acid, according to Dr. David Steenblock, no amino acid exists on its own in nature. They all work together. Our body takes them and digests them slowly and uses everything, all the energy from it. And proteins are very important. However, free glutamate is unbound, it's denatured, it's taken out of the rest of the amino acids, and it floods our systems and makes us sick. It's an excitotoxin. So what is an excitotoxin? Just like it sounds, it's toxic. It is something that activates our central nervous system. This is how the American Journal of Neuroradiology describes it. It activates our central nervous system, and it's the main source of neuronal death and neurodegenerative disease, such as MS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, seizures, and a whole bunch of other ones. And the American Nutrition Association likens it to being as if, imagine a power pole outside of your house that gets struck by lightning, and then everything connected, all the appliances that are connected to that power pole inside, short out. So essentially that's what it's doing in our brains. It's sending a signal to our brains. It's making it fire rapidly and then killing off the neurons. So that doesn't sound very good. I hope that you don't think that sounds good. I've heard about this first when I was trying to figure out what was going on with me, why I was having awful headaches and just not feeling well. My stomach would hurt. I'd have itchy skin and just a whole bunch of stuff. And I came across a TED Talk by a woman named Catherine Reed, who is a biochemist, and she's also a mother of a daughter who has autism. And in an attempt to control her daughter's autism symptoms, she was at her wit's end and said, try this diet, and she eliminated free glutamates and found that her daughter's symptoms were just improving so rapidly until she became virtually symptom-free. So she has a website called Unblind My Mind. It's an organization that she created that is sharing this and spreading this. And I encourage you to look at that website, and there's so much more information on there that's just really valuable. So I adopted this diet myself and found that not only did I lose weight, I lost 20 pounds, which has always been a struggle for me my whole life. I lost 20 pounds like in 3 months. My husband lost 30 pounds, and I got rid of my headaches. My skin wasn't itchy. My stomach felt better. I was more clear-headed. My concentration was better. And once we started slacking off and eating normal again, even though we were eating healthy, I gained the weight back very quickly, and so did my husband. My headaches came back, and so I know that it was that, and I'm making effort to get back on that way of eating. The American Nutrition Association tested free glutamates on rats, which this is really upsetting to me. They found that when they gave free glutamate to rats, they became grossly obese. They were very short. Many of them became blind and had macular degeneration. They had trouble reproducing. But I think that the most upsetting of all of these is that their hypothalamus got lesions on it, and the hypothalamus is the part of the brain that controls hormones that that are important for all of the processes in our body, like thirst, hunger, sex drive, mood, circadian rhythm, our sleep, so many things. And they had lesions on that part of the brain. Not only did they have trouble reproducing, but when they did reproduce, they passed these things on to their offspring. The mother gave some of these problems to their little baby rats. So that, I don't think that's very good. That's a really good reason to avoid free glutamate. If it's so bad and it's poisonous and toxic and killing our brain cells and making us fat, then why is it in our food? Why is it allowed to be in our food? Well, first of all, it was discovered during World War II in Japan by a scientist who found that there was a seaweed that was super flavorful. It tasted so good, and he was able to isolate the thing that made it so tasty, which was the glutamate, and make it into a powder. And they started adding it to the soldiers' rations because it made them taste better. And pretty soon America caught on and said, whoa, we can get really cheap foods that have no nutritional value. We can package them up, freeze them, can them, and put this powder in there, and people are just gonna eat it up, literally. And that's what happened. The food industry started booming, and people said, man, eating out tastes way better than eating at home. And there's a reason for that. So I'm sure that you've heard people or yourself say, oh my goodness, I opened that bag of chips, I couldn't stop eating, I ate the whole thing, or I ate that whole plate of cookies. But I've never heard anyone say, oh, I feel terrible, I ate that whole box of cucumbers, I just could not stop myself. That's not really an issue, because a nacho cheese Dorito does something to your brain that an apple doesn't do. And there's free glutamate in 95% of our food now, according to the American Nutrition Association. And our consumption of free glutamate has doubled every single year, every decade since 1948, when they first started adding it. Even though neuroscientists recognize this as being toxic to our brains, and they've been studying it for decades, and people don't like MSG, the FDA still says that it's natural and it's safe, and they say that's because it comes from glutamate, even though it's not the same thing and it's taken out. So they allow people to, because we have this MSG thing, we look out for MSG, we don't like it, so things are labeled as no MSG. But it has over 40 other aliases, and they found how to do this to many other proteins and do this. It's essentially the same thing. So I have this list here that I want to share with you of just a few of the common ones. Anything hydrolyzed, anything autolyzed, anything glutamate, obviously, anything denatured. And these are my favorites. Spices, natural flavor, anything with those, and those are so misleading. Anything vegetable protein, citric acid, yeast extract, there's so many. And if you go to truthinlabeling.org, you can find a complete list of these so that you can look for them and try not to eat them. So how do we do this? How do we eat this way? Well, you're probably going to know what I'm going to say. Eat whole foods. We know this, we want to do this, but it's really hard to do. It's hard, but it's really simple. And if you know what it is, like this is an apple, it has apple in it. We know that. This is banana, it has banana in it. We know that. So look for foods that we know what they are. And if you buy a processed food, just try to read the label on the back and see if it has more than 5 ingredients, you don't want it, or if you don't know what it is, don't eat it. And please look at that list and gain the knowledge about that so you know what to look for. I hope that after this you'll want to box up some foods and get rid of them, and just for 30 days try to eat this way. And I know I can guarantee that you'll notice the benefits for you and your family. You'll feel so much better. And I could really just go on about this for so long because, as I said, I'm very passionate about it. But I really need to wrap it up. So I have experienced the positive as well as the negative benefits of eliminating free glutamates from my diet. And they're toxic, they're addictive, they make us crave foods that are really bad for us and don't nourish us. As much as I'd like to think that the FDA would get rid of this and make it illegal and ban it, I don't see that happening. So we really need to take the control of our bodies and be the protectors and guardians of the only body that we have, and treat it as best we can. I know for myself, I want to hang on to every brain cell, every nerve and neuron in my brain, because I've worked really hard to educate myself and it's like throwing money out the window every time I burn out a brain cell. I want to hold on to them. So I hope that you just want to eat healthy foods and get rid of these bad foods, and don't let anybody try to fatten you up or electrocute your brain. And I want to do it with you, so let's do it. Thank you for listening, and if you have any more questions, please contact me. I'm not an expert, but I have found a lot of good, valuable resources about this. So thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.